All right, let's get into this. We've got a story that kicks off with something super normal, a family cookout for a 40th birthday. But it goes sideways, fast, and ends in this moment of pure violence that forces a woman to make an impossible choice between the family she was born into and the one she built herself.
And boom, there it is. That's a quote from Lita, the woman at the heart of all this. I mean, that one sentence just lays it all out there, doesn't it? It's about the crazy choice she had to make and the line she had to draw in the sand for good.
So to really get how things blew up so spectacularly, you gotta understand the family itself. This thing wasn't a random explosion. Nah, this was a pressure cooker that had been hissing on the stove for decades. You've got Lita Carter, who owns her own construction business, totally self-made. And then you have her brother, Paul, the golden child who could do no wrong in their parents' eyes.
This right here, it just spells it all out. On one side, you've got Lita. She's built everything she has literally from the ground up. And then you've got Paul. At 38 years old, he's still blaming the world for his problems, and his parents just let him. They enable the heck out of him. It's just a classic recipe for disaster.
The funny thing is, Lita didn't even want to have this party. She knew what would happen. She knew how her family got. But her husband, James, he talked her into it, said it was for the kids. So she goes against her gut feeling and agrees. One simple backyard barbecue. But, with this family, simple was never really going to happen.
And sure enough, the trouble started pretty much the second Paul showed up. He waltzes in late and right away starts with these little snide comments, these little digs about Lita's contractor money and all her success. You know the type, right? Just poking the bear, trying to get a rise out of her because he couldn't stand to see her doing well.
And man, did it unravel fast. We're talking less than an hour to go from annoying comments to a full-on meltdown. It all started over a skateboard. Lita's son Noah just tells his cousin, "Hey, be careful with that." That's it. Paul takes it as some huge sign of disrespect, calls his own nephew spoiled, and when Lita steps in to defend her kid, Paul just loses it and storms off to the garage, just fuming.
So the party kind of starts back up, but you can feel the tension in the air. Lita's husband, Jamie, even leans over to her and says, "It's too calm. That's the kind of quiet that comes before something breaks." And you know what? He was absolutely right.
It was a sound Lita said wasn't just about pain. It was about betrayal. It came from the garage. And just like that, the music stops, everyone stops talking, the whole party just freezes. It was the sound of their entire world cracking right down the middle.
Lita and James, they just drop everything and run. And what they find in that garage, well, it wasn't just some family argument anymore. It was basically a crime scene. This was the moment of truth. This is where the family didn't just bend, it shattered.
It's a horrifying picture. Lita sees her 14-year-old son Noah on the concrete floor, struggling to even breathe. And standing over him is her brother, Paul, holding a baseball bat. That was it. Total mama bear mode. She said something inside her just snapped, and she just flew at him, started wailing on him, until her husband had to pull her off. And this, right here, is where the story gets really twisted. Lita's dad, Robert, comes running in. But is he worried about his grandson gasping on the floor? Nope. The first words out of his mouth are to defend Paul, disciplining the boy with a baseball bat. I mean, come on. It's just an insane thing to say.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, her mother, Helen, chimes in. Not worried about Noah, her grandson, she's mad at Lita for fighting the guy who just assaulted her son. Her main concern was how it looked. The humiliation of a family fight was somehow worse than her grandson having broken bones. Unbelievable.
So Lita's husband yells for someone to call 911, and her dad just shuts it right down. He tries to take charge, sweep this whole violent felony under the rug to protect his precious golden child and the family's reputation. He's insisting, "We'll handle it in the family." And this is it. This is Lita's moment. She looks at her dad, she looks at her son on the floor, and she makes the call. She picks her kid's safety over her parents' insane sense of family loyalty. And with that single decision, she drew a line that she knew could never, ever be undrawn. So now the cops are involved. This isn't family business anymore. It's a criminal case. The whole mess moved from the backyard into a courtroom where being the golden child meant absolutely nothing. Now you'd think after getting arrested for assault with a deadly weapon, Paul might, lay low for a bit. Nope, you'd be wrong. A week later, he breaks a no-contact order, shows up at Lita's house with an envelope stuffed with $10,000, and tries to bribe her to drop the charges. The thing he didn't count on?
Her porch security camera was on, and it recorded everything.
So, come trial time, Paul's defense team had nothing, absolutely nowhere to go. The prosecution had it all on a silver platter. They had the garage video of the attack, they had the crystal clear porch video of him committing another felony, witness tampering, and on top of that, they had the calm, straightforward testimony from Noah and Jamie. It was a total slam dunk.
The verdict came back guilty. Guilty on all counts. Assault with a deadly weapon and tampering with a witness. The sentence? 4 years. 4 years in state prison. The golden child finally got what was coming to him. So, what happens after a storm like that? The story doesn't just stop when the judge's gavel falls. 3 years later, we get to see the real fallout. And it's a story about how sometimes cutting out all that toxicity doesn't leave a hole. It leaves you with peace.
This slide really shows the two roads taken, doesn't it? Lita's family, they healed. And they thrived. Her business actually doubled in size. Noah's 17 now and planning to go to college for engineering. But Paul, still in prison. His wife divorced him, and his parents, the enablers, they sold their house and moved away. Lita hasn't spoken to a single one of them since.
This is the biggest lesson Lita says she learned through all this. Family isn't just a given. It's not about sharing a last name. It's about who shows up for you, who protects you, and who chooses to do the right thing, not the easy thing. Loyalty, she says, has to be earned. Period.
And that really leaves us with something to think about, right? Lita's story is, yeah, pretty extreme, but the core of it, that choice, is something a lot of people face in smaller ways. She protected her kid, no matter the cost, even if it meant blowing up her original family. So it makes you ask yourself, when it comes to defending the people you love, is there a line you won't cross, or do you just do whatever it takes?